얘들아 승용보 올려라. What you bang now? Hey, TFT 모바일 도동동자 또로로로 갤럭시 푸동동자. Hey, TFT 모바일 도동동자 또로로로 갤럭시 푸동동자. 또 떨어져 허구와 날라다타. 여기 갤럭시 너의 자식 얼럭키다. 너의 두뇌 그래서 타지 않아. 21세기 네 전략 이제 전략 능지 차이 나는 널 능지 처참히 롤 아재 롤린 이돌 롤린 인더들. 자 이제 누나 막아 담아 회전 초밥 뒤집개로 뒤집어라 레디 셋색. TFT 모바일 도동동자 또로로로 갤럭시 푸동동자. TFT 모바일 도동동자 또로로로 갤럭시 푸동동자. 라이어가 멋이 도동동자. TFT 모바일 푸동동자. 5, 6월 설이 가득 찰 노동자 또로로로 갤럭시 푸동동자. 하다 현타 푸동동자. TFT 갤럭시 푸동동자. 유체 뉴 시너지 전설전자 멋이 패치 우주 푸동동자. 리그 오브 레전드 전략 게임 TFT 모바일 도동동자.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do my clappy clap. Max's clappy clap. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the POG State. We are up to number 6 somehow. Not sure how it's happened, but Riot Careers let us keep going. Speaking of Riot Career, we do need to start off with our little disclaimer. I once again need to apologize that we're not filming this from the bathroom, although it would theoretically seem like a sanitary option due to the amount of cleaning available in such location and things like that. We are currently social distancing, and I'm not able to set up my computer and my camera and my microphone in my bathroom. So apologies. We are, thinking about it for when we do get back from this social distancing and when the coronavirus is behind us, which we are certainly looking forward to. It's been a very interesting week as far as LCK is concerned and esports in general, and I have LS alongside me as per usual to discuss it. We're back to a bit of a duo situation, LS. Are you okay? Feeling less overwhelmed now with the amount of voices that we've had on our previous episodes?
Yeah, it's just back to you and me.
Yeah.
And there's no Wanted, there's no Valdez. I mean, he was, whatever.
Bronze 5. No more Bronze 5. Don't need to deal with it.
No more Bronze 5. Honestly, that guy is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And how have you been dealing with this whole social distancing situation? I know that, at the very beginning of the coronavirus, you were LS who had the gloves on and the mask all the time and everything. You were taking it all pretty seriously. How's the self-isolation going?
I only ever really leave the house to go to the coffee shop that is like 20 seconds away from the very front of my building. And aside from that, we have lots of food still inside of the house, so I don't really leave. And my schedule has still actually been pretty nuts because the LCS playoffs and the LEC playoffs run longer now. So
true.
Even on some of the days that I'm casting LCK during the week, there's still LCS. So my sleep schedules are getting hit.
A little bit messed up again. Certainly we did have some hectic weeks here in the old LCK. Thankfully, you managed to take a couple of days off for what felt like the first time in a very, very long time as far as the LCK is concerned. And I want to talk about taking a few days off because our YouTube channel also took a few days off, unfortunately. That's why episode 5 took so long to come out. So many apologies. We have taken some steps in order to make sure that we are going to be able to get episode 6 out absolutely on time. Should be available for you guys. If you're watching this on the first day of its release, it should theoretically be the 14th of April. But I'm not entirely sure. It should be the day before the last couple of days of the LCK. It means that we still have 3 more days, I believe, of matches to talk about before we get there, which is actually very interesting because LS things in the LCK have certainly been, I don't necessarily know how to explain it, unpredictable. Would probably be the nicest way of approaching how it's certainly been going. I do, before we get into the LCK though, kind of want to talk about what your take is on how the coronavirus and this epidemic has actually affected esports in general. We've been having a look, prodding around the internet, things like that. It looks like as far as streamers like yourself, things are pretty good. Twitch viewership is up like, what, 31% or something like that? And all traditional sport is dead. So theoretically, everyone's watching esports if they want to. Like,
pretty
good time.
It's really interesting. So I don't know how to totally describe, I guess, the impact on streams and whatnot, because obviously I have my own stuff that I look at. And I think that while Twitch viewership is really far up, there is some like wonky stuff going on with like League right now because Valorant is out.
Yeah,
so
true.
There's a lot of League streamer this happened exactly with TFT. If you recall, when TFT came out, a lot of League streamers actually complained about viewership for League of Legends when TFT came out.
Okay.
And so in terms of like League of Legends, I don't notice anything yet, but that might also just be because the only streams that I'm doing are co-streams, at least in the last week. So I don't think that I've really been that affected thus far. And well, actually, no, I guess I'm a little bit wrong. The only streams I've done are co-streams and then like coaching with pro players, like the casual coaching streams that I do with some professional players on stream, where I just like watch their screen, almost like I'm watching a pro game. And I talk over it. So I don't really know how it's affecting maybe lots of other people. Everyone's sort of playing Valorant right now. I think even right before, or as we're recording this, I think there's 1.1 million on Twitch for Valorant. Or at least
that's insane. You haven't given it a go yet? The old Valorant?
I won't play it.
Whoa.
I'm not gonna play it. I don't like getting behind FPSs, and I feel like I'm entrenched in League of Legends right now. And apparently Valorant went down to 630,000 currently.
Yeah,
so
it's 612 on my screen right here. I did have a little bit of a cheeky gander myself.
That is really strange.
I actually think that it's a really interesting conversation, right? Because, Riot Games makes both of the two, I guess, most popular games on Twitch right now in League of Legends and Valorant. And I think there's been a few conversations about, like, is Valorant stealing viewers from League of Legends, blah, 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 blah. Like, I think the answer to that is who cares? They made two good games, right? And so, therefore, if you're an FPS person, you'll watch Valorant, or maybe you'll still watch CSGO. Like, who knows what's going to happen there? But I think as far as people complaining that it's dividing a viewer base or something like that, no, if you're going to watch an FPS, you're going to watch an FPS, right? I don't think that there's anything really to worry about as far as that is concerned. I think it's just really cool that Valorant's come out, and so many people have told us that they've really been enjoying it. I've certainly seen nothing but good feedback. I haven't played it myself just yet. I've been doing that commentary thing and rollerblading. That's what I've been doing.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. But yeah, Valorant, I don't know. I've never been super interested in FPSs, so I'm not going to obviously comment on it. I mean, but Riot must be doing something right, given that this game is blowing up like nothing I've ever seen, actually, in terms of a new release. So that's obviously good news. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm like up to my neck right now in League of Legends.
You absolutely are.
I feel like I can't really. I'm watching all LEC, all LCS, all LCK, and then also still trying to do my own stream stuff. So I don't have time for another game.
Yeah, I feel like if you took on Valorant as well, you might actually suffocate, and that's not what you want to be. You don't want to be like LS, aka life is suffering. That's not good news. And it is certainly for some people. Interesting stat, a little bit of a tidbit here that James, our director, came up with from the internet about how each country is handling the corona pandemic. Like, obviously, you guys have probably got some questions for us because we are pretty close to the front lines, I guess you could talk about, with Korea falling. The whole Daegu issue was a big problem over here, and it was before any of the Western countries had really even started getting impacted by the coronavirus. Things here are actually surprisingly good, to be honest. We're trying to stay as careful and things as possible, but I mean, yesterday there was only 40 new cases or something like that, which was way down from previous days, things like that. We certainly feels like we're hitting the end of the situation. So we'll have to find out exactly whether or not I am incorrect, but as far as places to be, Korea certainly is the best one. But what Ian was going to say, what Ian told us was that in America, like, you guys are selling out of masks. In Australia, I know we had an issue selling out of toilet paper for some reason, like in Italy, pasta, like in Japan, selling out of ramen, and in Korea, we're selling out of Nintendo Switches because everyone wants to sit at home playing Animal Crossing. It's just so good. Thankfully, I already had a Switch, and I could just buy it digitally, so I could continue socially isolating while I was purchasing my Tom Nook extravaganza. Have you played any of it at all, LS? The old new Animal Crossing?
No, I bought. So I originally, I'm pretty lucky. I bought a Switch, or I bought 3 Switches actually in November, for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I got Sword, I got Shield, etc. And I went to buy Animal Crossing a couple of days after it came out for autumn, and we went to the Toys R Us. It's it's in the basement of my apartment building, and
oh, nice.
We went there, and they were sold out of both the game and the special edition. And I really wanted to get the special edition because I thought it looked really nice.
It
I was like,
really cool.
What is going on? And then I went online, and I found out apparently it's a massive craze. And I found out about this guy in the game called Tom Nook, the Crook, and he is my spirit animal. So
he is definitely a frugal man. That does certainly care about whether or not you pay him back. That is very true. And that might have something to do with you. Yes. I am not going to go there. Just straight up not going to go there. And how's it been with the whole working from home thing? I know we discussed this just a little bit we did on the episode earlier on, but now that the 3 best of 3 days are behind us, we can discuss how that was, because to be perfectly honest, man, that was too many games in a week. And
we have one more. You and I.
We do have one more, but this is what we used to have, right? There used to be that 3 best of 3 day in the promotion tournament that I believe cycled between SPO and OGN. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was always OGN every single time, but I'm pretty sure it cycled between the 2 companies. And that was the day that we least looked forward to every year. That's sort of how it was ever since I got here in 2017. So, yeah, it's certainly been rough. My brain was falling out, I think, towards the last couple. And also, I mean, having Wadid and Chober was definitely fun. But it's different, right? Because you and I have got. It's almost like everything falls into place really easily, and commentating with someone new, no matter how good they are or anything, like if you don't have that automatic synergy, it's really hard because you have to be so conscious of everything all the time. I can imagine like it was different when you were starting with Brendan and I, right? Like we don't have to worry because we're only with you, so we just get to go back to autopilot mode, but you have to switch between your 2 co-casters and stuff like that. And it's been a bit rough.
Yeah, things are definitely different. The 3 days was a bit of a hurdle. It actually felt like the 30-minute break between the second series and the third series. That actually felt rough. That felt really weird because I would come out of the casting element for 30 minutes and then I would have to go back into it. And that whole thing is like really weird for me because I feel like whenever it's either I'm doing a stream or I'm doing a casting, it's sort of like cinder blocks are on my body or something, and there's like a breaking point. But I can just endure it the entire time, like as long as I stay inside of a mode. But the second that I come off for a prolonged period of time is actually really rough. And 30 minutes just didn't feel like long enough. I know at LOL Park when we only get like 20 or 30 minutes, it actually feels really rough. Like stressful almost.
I get a little bit of anxiety if there's like not that extra buffer. I do certainly understand, and I think that actually you might have a point with it being at home. It's easier to fall back into comfort zone, right?
Yep.
And so then like managing to pull yourself out and get your head back into like a more serious professional mode is actually a little bit more difficult. Yeah, I agree. I hadn't actually thought about that, but I think that might explain why sometimes I'm feeling extra loopy heading into a third series of the day. But it's also a third series of the day, right? Like, we've already been working for theoretically, like, what, 7 hours at that point, potentially?
Right.
Like 6, 7. So, yeah, I'm pretty glad that one's over, and I'm glad that all of us still have our voices, and we're alive. That's nice work. Really, I'm proud of us, proud of the whole team. And speaking of the whole team, like, everyone at LoL Park must be losing their minds right now with the amount of hours that they'd have to be working, right? Putting on a remote broadcast, having to, like, get all of our collective feeds together and plug them all into a live broadcast, whilst also working an extra best of threes amount of time, like, in, you know, this world which is now being plagued by this pandemic. Like, shit, man. It's tough work. So, like, I'm sitting here, like, complaining, 3 best of threes is too much, when everyone that's at LoL Park working is, like, actually the real heroes, and really I should just pipe down. You know, it's certainly something that I'm sure they're happy to be out of the way. But you've been doing the co-streaming of LCS, LEC. How's globally how their remote broadcasts working? I've tuned into a bit of LCS. I watched our friend Papa Smithy's team go up against TSM. Not going to spoil that one, but anyway, I watched it and was very excited by the Silver Scrapes. But it was different, you know, having us all doing these remote broadcasts where everyone's from home.
The remote broadcasts, they feel so much faster. I don't know what it is. It feels like everything is so quick paced with the remote aspect. I don't know. And then the co-streaming element feels like there's no downtime because the Twitch chat is always still active.
Yep.
So when I'm doing it in that regard, normally during an ad break or something, if I was casting, I would just take a break. But now I have, like, Twitch chat I have to do. I've had some guests on for co-streaming in some of the recent weeks, and it's just going really, really good at this current point in time. And so I think LEC just started getting their video stuff set up, whereas normally they were like us with the frozen images.
With you and I holding hands, things like that.
Personally, I mean, this is just my opinion. It doesn't reflect Riot or anything. I actually like the still images over the video because so many times the video, the lighting's constantly changing, like, as the day is drawing on. When the analyst X portion is going on, or they have to move their camera, they have to adjust their light, and that's something that you and I don't have to worry about. Because we don't have to worry about holding hands. You know,
I did my hair for the first time. I didn't even know whether it was going to work because I haven't had a haircut for ages. Thankfully, it looks somewhat similar to normal, right? But luckily, we got there because I've been, like, full slob mode every single day, and it's been brilliant. No need to worry about it because my voice doesn't change if I look like someone that doesn't even. I
wear pajamas all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best. I mean, I currently have track pants on right now, but you guys can't see it. It's just my top half. It's the caster dream. I used to work back in OCE. In 2014, I was famous for my. I had red gym shorts that I'd wear whilst sitting at the desk, and I'd have, like, full suit on the top side. Yeah. And I remember Peter, old friend from work, he took a photo and outed me on Twitter. It was devastating, and everyone then knew that I was the guy that wore red shorts. Whilst broadcasting, broke the whole image. The fourth wall just went down. It was terrible. So, actually, now we can probably get back into talking about the POG state. You guys.
This was it the whole time, actually.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. But let's get into the LCK. I was maybe a little bit apprehensive to get into this too quickly because, to be perfectly honest, it's really hard to analyze what's been going on because everyone's losing to everyone else. We can't get a really clear idea of who's strong, who isn't. Like yesterday's games, it is currently the 11th of April, and that means that yesterday we had Damwon versus DRX and the Telecom War, and I mean, what an insane day! Like, can you even say theoretically that Dragon X won their series?
No,
I don't think so. There was a Nexus down to 1 health. How did
they really threw in that game? And then you're absolutely right. There's a universe where Dragon X does just end up losing the game, right? Obviously, like the flash on Akali, that was something that got harped on a lot about. They could have teleported sooner. I remember talking about it with Valdez. The Ghost's first-person view leaves me feeling suffocated every single time that we get portions of it up on the LCK, because he could have just used his own F keys or his own camera movement to make the decision himself, but waiting on teammates to tell him to teleport, I mean, that's just I don't know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So there was obviously a lot of blunders there. LCK feels like a hot mess right now in terms of, like you're saying, everything is sort of unpredictable in a sense. Yeah. Everyone's beating everyone currently. And it feels like the real highlight, however, was KT's resurgence throughout this split so far, because they were on a tear and then it started to die out, and maybe people thought, okay, it was just sort of a fluke. But then they came back yesterday, they 2-0'd T1, and they did so in pretty convincing fashion.
But they were also 2-1'd by APK, like, in the match before that. So, like, is it enough for us to talk about that? Or is it just, like, somehow they had a phenomenal day and overperformed? Like, or did T1 underperform? Is the other question. Because T1 have now, They managed to beat Sandbox, but they were also coming off their loss against Damwon as well. So I don't know, man. It's like there's a bit of a collapse here for a lot of our teams. And T1 did manage to beat Gen G, yes, and then the trajectory definitely looked good. But, you know, losing to, I believe, DRX next. Where is that? Where is that particular match? Maybe that was in week 6. Maybe that was a little bit earlier, and they managed to win. Yeah, it was a 2-0 for T1 in that particular matchup. But losing to Damwon and now losing to KT, it's not what we were expecting out of T1, and it's not the consistency that we sort of wanted from our top 5 teams, right? Because now it does feel like we have our top 5 basically locked, but I don't know whether we're getting, you know, more comfortable with it or less, and what that all means.
The other thing for T1 that is so perplexing, right? I have the meme thing going on right now that T1 ruins my draft predictions. Because let me pull up the stat actually right now. So there was an interesting stat at the start of last week that 22 out of 30 of my incorrect draft predictions actually all stemmed from T1 and Afrika. So aside from T1 and Afrika, only 8 of my incorrect predictions actually were from other collisions and whatnot.
Okay.
So out of 180 predictions, I have 144 right, so I'm exactly 80% right now. But T1, they completely ruined me, right? It's the funniest thing, but I think that's actually also really concerning, right? Because there's a lot of instances where it feels like they should lose games. It's happened several times now throughout the split, and they win anyway. And then there's other instances like yesterday's series against KT, where they had they had what I think it's a winnable draft in game number 1, but there's definitely issues with it if you're just not going to play it right, because you have triple AP topside, the enemy's just going to stack magic resistance, and then the only way that you can ever win is if your Kalista goes backline and Kalista gets ahead, which Kalista should have been able to get ahead, but she couldn't. So it's one of those drafts that I think it's like 55-45 or something, but it immediately swings like 90-10 if the Kalista just doesn't end up doing anything in the first 20 minutes. But T1 is so all over the place, it feels like, in terms of like the roller coasterness. And the one thing that saves them is seemingly their resilience in the face of defeat, their patience at various stages of the game in dragging things out. But then other times they completely blunder stuff. And so that's not really super comfortable. Gen G having some of Gen G's losses are also like, you scratch your head at like how they lost, but Gen G's looked really consistent. Then you have DRX, who was looking very inconsistent, could have lost their last series.
Should have lost their last series. Like, let's be real. That Nexus was dead. Like,
this is the most shaky LCK split that I've seen in years.
And it's really interesting, right? Because you mentioned shaky, but we never actually know what these teams are like until they're up against a different region. Because, you know, honestly, if you're forcing each other to play shaky League of Legends, maybe you're pushing each other to improve, right? So if all of our teams are actually just a bit better than they were, then, you know, maybe we've all evolved together. And there has been some weird stuff going on, like the LPL, for example, FPX losing recently, Top Esports also losing recently. Like, there has been some upsets elsewhere around the world as well. Not to mention the LEC has been certainly a bit of a roller coaster this particular season. So I'm not too worried as far as that is concerned. But some of the things that I've been seeing and some of our drafting habits are also starting to get a little bit worrying, right? Like, and it's not necessarily like the LCK teams are like picking the wrong champions. Like, I recently got a tweet saying like, why do you guys hate Braum so much? He's great. He's my favorite tanky support or something like that. And it's like, we don't have anything against Braum, but when you can predict exactly what a draft is going to be, like the entire way through, there's a problem.
Yeah, and these champions are not like, I really feel like we got to come up with a turn that's above S. Like Z tier or something, you know what I mean? Like God tier, or I don't even know. Like
Exodia tier or something like that. Yeah, like it's X tier.
These champions are not that good. They have counters, and Korea just refuses. This is going back to like episode 2 of the POG State, episode 1, right? Where I said drafts would be a problem. They are being a problem, and just because you win sometimes doesn't change the fact that there's still a problem. And the things with like jungler interaction with the laners and whatnot, that is non-existent. Even with the top teams, right? It's sort of like, even Twitch chat talks about it, Reddit talks about it. Like, a lot of DRX's games, Piotrek just runs around farming, and then arrives at stuff when his laners are gonna set something up, or they've already manufactured something to be created after he's nearby, like consuming a camp or something. There's so many times that power farming just occurs and no interaction happens, right? And
I mean, he did that in Game 2, I believe, of their most recent series against Damwon. Like, Game 2, he, like, smashed Canyon Sejuani in the jungle. He managed to, like, farm half of her jungle as well as all of his own.
Yeah.
Had, like, a 2-level lead or something like that. And then how much did that matter? 0. Like, absolutely nothing, because he did nothing with the lead against a champion that was going to be better than him.
It's way too common of a trend in the majority of the games. And it feels like, I remember talking about it in the Wadded episode, there's no one saying these things on Korean social media, and the issue with everything is on Facebook. Facebook, you have no anonymity, everything's going to be monitored. You know, there's a million other problems with that. And you can check like the Inven boards and whatnot. There's no EDU content. There's no criticism that pros are ever going to read. And when you're trapped inside of echo chambers thinking that everything's good, or chalking up losses to things that didn't actually cause the loss, then there's a problem. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. And it just feels like it's sort of trial by fire when it comes to solving problems right now.
And we'll have to see whether some of these coaches are actually going to be able to recognize what's been going on. I know that based on some interviews with Coach Kim from T1 now, he's certainly been trying to do a little bit more experimenting with Elim in the jungle, with also some of their champion picks, things like that. I don't think that T1 are necessarily going all in on every single one of these regular season matches, because they are already qualified into at least round 2 of the playoffs, right? So I think that Coach Kim's approach is to make sure that they get as much experience as they can and add as many strings to their bow as possible, in order to allow them to have the best chances in, you know, winning where winning really matters. And right now, I guess for T1, it doesn't as much, as T1 does have one more match against Afrika. and then they're going to be done for the entirety of the season.
And I believe DRX can actually pass them now, right? If DRX ends up winning their last matches, even if T1 beats Afrika, DRX can pass T1.
Oh yeah, so Dragon X are on a 5-match winning streak. They're even on points with T1 right now.
Yeah.
And they have a match to play. So they're 12-4. T1 is 13-4.
Right.
And Dragon X almost have a higher win rate. Actually, I had another guy message me on Twitter recently. He's like, why isn't T1 in first place? They have the same amount of wins as Gen G, and Gen G has head-to-head. Well, no. Like, if you lose more than your opponent, you don't have as much point score, and therefore you're not going to be ahead in the ranking. So it's a way of breaking ties without ever even really having to do a tiebreaker, and unless you have exactly the same game win rate and match win rate at the same time. And that makes tiebreakers much less common here in the LCK, although they do happen. We have had some exceptionally long days based on tiebreakers. But yeah, it shouldn't happen between DRX and T1.
And Gen G, there's a chance that they could also lose their next... I mean, DRX could actually end up in first. That's a universe, too. Everything's sort of up in the air right now between these three teams for where they're going to end up really landing. T1's feels like less out of their control, but Gen G and DRX, it's definitely much more in their control.
And they've got 2 matches to play, right? So... Gen G, pretty comfortable, I guess, although their last match is against KT, which is going to be on the second last day. That will be tomorrow your time, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching on the 14th, or maybe it's even today, as maybe it came out while you were asleep. Who knows? And that will be the match that you're looking forward to at about 3 p.m., I would assume, as Gen G take on KT for our last remaining super match day, and then T1 versus Afrika is immediately afterwards with Dam1 versus Sandbox coming in Game 3. That day could actually be really, really hype, to be honest, because there is just a lot of stuff that could really warp how our playoffs look. I think that as far as our playoffs are concerned, we almost have it locked in. KT and Dam1 have confirmed that they're not going to be possibly put down into relegation. However, the entire east side of the bracket that we talk about all the time, our bottom 5 teams, anyone can be going home out of the bottom 5. Afrika, Hanwha, Sandbox, APK, and Griffin. Griffin hasn't been confirmed relegation yet. They're on -15. 4 and 13 is their win rate. And they're still not confirmed. Because all of these teams are like so low down. Like, I can't believe Afrika is still not safe. Like, they're on 7 wins in comparison to all of the teams that are sitting there on 5, but they're still not safe because of what could potentially happen in our last few days. So relegation is going to be a bit of a spicy one because, of course, heading towards franchising, none of these teams want to be in the last promotion tournament of LCK forever. Like, that's not what you want as your legacy.
The thing is if you compare this to spring 2019, Griffin at that time was in first place, 15-3. SK Telecom T1, so obviously rebranded to T1 now, 14-4. Dragon X was 13-5. Sandbox were 13-5, and then you had Dam1 at 11-7. Those standings are much more top heavy. And middle of the pack didn't really tend to exist. Middle of the pack truly was Hanwha Life at 9-9. Then you had Gen G, Afrika, KT, and Jin Air all at the very bottom. Basically cycling between each other except for Jin Air. So this split of LCK 2020, it's so much different. Just on the surface, it really feels like middle of the pack is 9-4. That is just bewildering, and it's almost 10-4.
I think it is, like, now that Griffin have been picking up some wins somehow out of nowhere, I think you're right. I think it's 4-10, middle of the pack, and then theoretically we've got 3 teams. But with KT now beating T1, does that mean that they get back into the club? You know, Dam1 also had like a performance that we felt okay with. Their smashing of Afrika was relatively impressive, and they had a 2-0 over T1. So, like, are we now on the hype train for Dam1 as well? Like, I don't know, man. And their match against DRX was extraordinarily close. And then they get 2-0'd by Griffin.
Yeah. things are definitely they're looking weird.
They're looking super weird. And I guess now we can go through some predictions. There is going to be a match that is starting in actually an hour's time from the time of this particular recording. And it's going to be Hanwha Life versus APK, and then Sandbox versus KT. I want to actually go through each day, and we can like lock in our predictions. Ian is going to have it up onto the screen, and then we'll be able to have like a theoretical standings after that one happens as well. I'm actually going to, I'll try and keep note of how this is going to work. To see like what actually our projected outcome is for the season, because that could be our reality, right? Ian, I hope you're ready. So for Hanwha versus APK, who's going to take that one? In your opinion?
Hanwha versus APK, I would favor APK.
You'd favor APK?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we going to go 2-0 or 2-1? Because that matters.
Alice, this is LCK. We can't. I mean, I may as well just let me get a coin. Hold on.
2-1 it is. All right, we're locking in at 2-1.
No. 2-0. I'll give him 2-0.
It's an APK 2-0, is it?
It's an APK 2-0, Alice. Now,
All
this has no
right.
bearing on my official LCK prediction sheet.
No, that's because you need to have the draft before you can
Exactly.
you can do your predictions.
Yeah, thank you, good sir.
It's different, very different. So, guys, if you are going to challenge good old LS and his ability to get predictions working, if he screws this one up completely, it doesn't matter because it's outside of his area of expertise. As Sandbox versus KT. KT 2-0, pretty easy?
Yeah. KT 2-0.
Alrighty. So that's an extra few points for KT there. That's good news. I don't know how I'm going to calculate this towards the end. I had no plan to do one of these sort of situations, guys, but we're going to still go through it. DRX versus Afrika. My vote is a 2-0 for DRX, but who knows?
I have the same thing, and then I have Genji 2-0ing Hanwha Life.
Alrighty. 0-2. Okay, sorry, 2-0. And you've got the 2-0 for Genji as well. Okay. So that means that Hanwha Life's looking like they're being relegated at that point. Who wins out of them and Griffin on the last day?
I haven't been following challengers at all. So I don't really know. Let me actually take a look at what is going on in CK. As it looks like Dynamics is at the top of the pack right now with a 70% win rate. They're 9-4. Then you have Cerebral. I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's actually
Cerebral.
Yeah, that's.
I know, it sounds like the X-Men.
A fusion of some of the ex-BBQ as staff, and then they picked up all of the stream team. So that's like Thal, Songyun, etc. Nova, Kakao. Then you have Brion Blade. Then you have Spear Gaming, and
Spear are the team that managed to beat Jin Air in the Kesper Cup, right? That happened? I think so.
Yes, I do
wasn't
believe
casting
so.
that day, but I remember being sad.
Element Mystic right now is at the cutoff for playoffs.
Oh, cool.
Jin Air they are currently retaining their seed in Challengers Korea. They are in 6th place with 33% win rate.
Beautiful. Love to see it. I want to talk about Element Mystic just for a second. Element Mystic were a really big team for Overwatch here in Korea. Their contenders team was almost every single time absolutely amazing, and they would just basically keep themselves as one of the top teams by having just a really great training system for their players. So I actually really like the organization Element Mystic, and looking forward to seeing what they can do in League of Legends, because I didn't actually realize that they were also doing that. So that's really cool. Okay, now we go into our final 2 days, LS, as we've got Genji versus KT. And do we have to give this one to Genji because they're just top of the standings? No choice? What do you reckon?
This is one of the weird ones.
It's a toughie.
This is one of the genuine weird one. I'm gonna go 2-1 Genji.
2-1 Genji. All right, locked it in. Afrika T1. I'm going to give this a 2-1 for T1. What do you reckon? Or do we think they come back with a vengeance?
Do we know, is T1 starting on red or are they starting on blue?
Ooh, they are starting on red.
I'm gonna give him a 2-0.
You're gonna give him a 2-0. All right.
Yeah.
Alrighty, lock that one in. We've only got a few more matches to go.
Dom 1 versus Sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
Flip a coin, Atlas. Just flip a
Yeah,
coin.
I'm just gonna press some numbers here. Oh,
yeah, go
it's
ahead.
an 8 and 5. I don't think that's actually going to be possible. I'm gonna go with a 2-1. Who cares? It can be literally any result, right? I think from that particular match, Dom 1 can do anything. Sandbox might perform. Summit's playing again, and he's playing well, so maybe he has a pop off, and Nogari can't pop off, and that's going to make them win. That sort of thing. Like, who knows? Then we move on to Griffin versus Harmor Life and APK versus Dragon X. This is going to be sick, right? I actually have a feeling, and we'll do a few of the calculations after this to tell you exactly how things are going to go, guys. But this could be Griffin, APK, and Harmor Life all fighting for their lives, and DRX just playing spoiler, being able to potentially send any three of them into the relegation zone. Like,
that would be...
it could be a real dicey day.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. So, Griffin, Harmor Life, who we killing? This might confirm that Griffin goes down and not Harmor, actually.
I think Griffin might beat Harmor Life.
2-1?
This is Griffin's last match, right?
Yes, it is.
I'm going to give him the 2-0.
Oh my god.
I'm going to give him the 2-0.
He's believing. And then APK versus DRX. Do you know what my heart's telling me that APK are going to win? I don't know. It's just something's happening in there.
It's a 2-0.
It's a 2-0 APK?
It is, yes.
Oh my god.
DRX!
Oh, okay. Oh, no, dang. Have you noticed that people are starting to get on the APK hype train?
Yes.
Like, people are starting to get really excited for this team, and it's adorable. I think it's because they've been doing so many weird things.
Yeah,
and it's been somehow working.
They're one of the
it's
teams,
been really, really cute.
Yeah, that have been trying to actively break the meta.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Really, really cool. Anyway, now that we have all of our results, let's do some addition. So we have Gen G with a couple of 2-0s, 2-0 and a 2-1 going in Gen G's favor. And so that means that they're up by another 3 points and 2 more wins. So they're on 15 and 3. And they're going to be on 21 points, which is pretty good. I think that they will finish in first if this projection actually happens. But yeah, I guess we'll be yet to find out. And they'll be plus 21, I said, didn't I? Okay, so plus 21 for Gen G. RT1 going to be in second, guys. That's I guess what most of you are going to be asking right now. And based on what we thought, we gave them a 2-0 against Afrika. And we also... they only have one more to play? Only have one more to play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2-0 against Afrika. And that means they move up to 14 and 4 with an extra 2 points, so they'll be on 16. I don't know whether their spot is confirmed. Based on what we're seeing with DRX.
Them.
I think DRX might be ahead of them.
Yeah, DRX passes them. And DRX also passes Gen G if Gen G does drop the series to KT, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's the tango going on right now.
Oh man, it's some scary stuff. Some scary times. All right, so I actually put in I need to put in DRX now. So that's going to be a really high semi-final in the finals, man. And then we don't know who's going to be going up against Gen G out of T1 and DRX. I think like Smart Money's probably on T1 because DRX are the tilters, but I mean, on their day, they can beat basically any team in the world, right? So, it's that's some scary stuff. Okay, so what are DRX sitting at score-wise? They're on 12-4 right now, so they'll also be 14-4, but they will move ahead based on points. Judging by this, yeah, they should be on, from what we said, 17 or 18. They had 1-2-0 and another 2-0, so they should be on 18. But that's going to be damn close. So there we go, plus 18. And I hope DRX actually knows this as well, because they've been playing with some pretty seriously reckless abandon in their matches. And they really need to try and get some consistency. I'm really worried. We saw the difference, actually, in their game number 1 against Darm1. The Negan came out. It wasn't the Negan build, but it was like Umbral Glaive rushed after Skirmisher's Saber, which was like super sick on the Graves. And Pyoshik was playing proactively. He was ganking lanes. He was trying to get his lanes ahead, things like that. And he was, counter jungling very well, like he does in the majority of his games. It looked like we had an active Pyoshik, and then game number 2 he disappeared. And we sort of got to look at what DRX can be with their jungler actually proactively helping out their already strong lanes. Like, it was a little bit sad.
DRX have one of the best bot lanes, and they have Chovy in mid. So it's pretty hard to lose control on the right-hand side of the map. Obviously, they have Doran up in top lane, but this time around, they're still the big three. We called them the Hydra earlier on in the split. They still do exist. Obviously, Summit has come back now. He's been playing again, and it is an upgrade, obviously, from Lonely playing. There was really no reason to have Summit out, I believe, when he was on the bench in round 2. That was still perplexing. I mean, it's still perplexing to me.
No, I agree.
But all the other top laners, I mean, Kana is doing a really good job. Rascal, I think, is actually doing a lot better this split than in previous splits, but is that also because other teams are sort of faltering and you have Khan missing, so maybe it helps make room for other top laners to sort of shine, because there is one less powerhouse that is not in the league. And then you have Doran, so, I mean, that's pretty much what's going on right now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that Rascal was a bit underrated, to be honest. I feel like we went on a So-On rant when really we should have been going on a Rascal rant. It was a few episodes ago now where we had Valdez on, and I, for some reason, spoke about So-On for like a year, and I don't know why. I think Rascal has been fantastic, playing as a Kali, playing it very, very well. Not picking too much of the Aatrox on the top side, very prone to picking Ornn and winning, He's a player that we want to talk about, I think, as far as like top lane and being able to control people.
Yeah,
because that's what he does, right? He's certainly a very stable style of top laner, which I think is starting to fit back in to the meta of top lane. It's like no longer do we have like you have to play a carry and split push and destroy everyone, and you can just play a tank, which is the Gen G style. Right. I don't know. I'm getting through the list, by the way, guys. We've got KT. They're going to finish off on 10 and 9. They're going to be +1. And this is the really interesting thing about win rates here in the LCK. Gen G will finish on 21 points if the projected result comes in. DRX on 18 points. T1 on 16 points. And then KT will finish on +1. And they'll be the next highest points. Like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Darm1, I'll have to now check in on where they're going to be. They're currently 8 and 9 at the very beginning. Their results that we projected for them were going to be +1 point there against Sandbox. And I believe that's it. Yeah, because they've only got one more to play. So they'll be on 9 and 9. And they'll be on +1. Again, it's another +1.
Nice.
So I know we're talking about a lot of our LCK teams talking about the top of the standings not seeming as different as we might otherwise expect, but it's still looking like there are 3 top teams.
No matter what,
there are teams that are able to steal wins, right? That's what it sort of feels like to me, anyway.
Yeah. And I don't remember the last time that there was something this top heavy in the LCK. This is really bizarre. Even the vibe of it, because I don't even want to call it top heavy, because people can steal wins, and it's happening often. So that's why, and also even sometimes the way that the top teams lose are just so bizarre, almost the way that the games do end up going. It's what's so strange about this split.
It's some wonky stuff. And we've got a Freaka losing their next 2 matches, so they're going to go down to 7-11, which is, yay, 7-11. Go get a Slurpee. But they'll also be on like -9. I wonder if this means that they are possibly in relegation zone in what we're saying. Because they're not safe yet.
No.
And, okay, this is where it actually gets spicy. As we'll check in there. So 7-11. They'll be on -9. And this is just the first team that I'm putting in. They're not going to be, most likely, based on, what we're expecting them to do. It's not going to be the result. As, Hanwha Sandbox. We don't have Hanwha winning, do we? It's actually more complicated than I thought, and a bit more of a task than I was really expecting. But that's alright. -3 puts them on -12. Okay. And Griffin and Hanwha Life are going to be on -14 points.
Yep.
And so that means Hanwha Life, according to us, APK's safe. They made it to 6 wins. So congrats. But then Sandbox saves themselves because they win we've got them winning a game against Damwon. That game matters. There's a tiebreaker if they don't win a game out of their next couple, because we've got 3 teams projected as finishing at 5 and 13, and all of them are going to be within 2 points of each other. My God. So that the rankings, by the way, guys, just to confirm, we have Genji, Direx, T1, KT, Damwon, and that, the top of the standings are not going to change. And then we'll have Afrika, APK, Sandbox, Hanwha Life, and Griffin. And Hanwha and Griffin are the ones fighting for their lives, theoretically, in the relegations, if everything goes according to our plan, which it probably won't. That's just from our predictions. And thanks. Ian's going to have it on the screen somewhere.
No, he's not.
I don't know.
He's just not even going to put it.
Somewhere. Maybe they're just going to cut this whole part of it because we were just saying take it away the whole time. Take it away, Ian. Take it away.
You really gave it to him there. Yeah, I think that's editable. Yeah, I think you did it. Honestly, you did it perfect.
Nice work, Ian. I think you must have done it perfectly as well in post-production. So yeah, is that what are we happy with it? Are we happy with the fact that we're no longer going to have, theoretically, potentially no longer going to have Hanwha Life and Griffin in the LCK for summer? Like,
I don't think that either of them would get relegated.
You don't think so? You think that Challenger isn't strong enough?
I remember
in Kesper Cup, Breon Blade looked pretty good.
So the thing about this Challengers, I mean, all right, now obviously just looking at stats and scorelines is generally, it's something that I'm often pretty opposed to. But it looks like this Challengers Korea coming up is weaker than some of the previous renditions. Let me actually take a look at some of the teams. I mean, you do have Kuzan down there, as well as Beyond and Rich on Team Dynamics.
And he's back to Beyond. He's not Yondu anymore. He's not whistling a little knife around in Guardians of the Galaxy. He
is back to Beyond.
Good.
And
good. Of course, former MVP player, guys.
Yeah, that's interesting, I guess. Okay, well, I think that I think this looks a lot weaker than 2019. Although in 2019, APK did manage to promote,
and they looked honestly like middling at best.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's definitely really strange. I'm not super sure what would.
Oh yeah,
be the
yeah.
case.
Team Dynamics did look all right, didn't they?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't
They
know
were the other
what
team.
to right. I don't know what to make of this whole situation as it currently stands. 2019 had a lot more top heaviness than seemingly CK 2020 does.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I think that if you're looking at can someone really promote from CK 2020, when you figure that middle of the pack in LCK right now is potentially 4 through 10, and the fact that there is no top heaviness in CK 2020, I think that
yeah,
probably
and this is going to be the last challenges, ever. Honestly,
Yeah,
so there's going to be Academy. It's going to be very different. There will be sort of like lower tier league, but there won't be Challenger ever again. And so you could imagine that all of these teams are playing pretty hard to try and make sure that they leave a legacy in this particular challenges that is actually going to be worthwhile. So my cat's here, by the way, guys. This is Dongchol. He's just walking around. He does like the microphone. Yeah. It's just inspecting it, making sure everything's okay. Is it in order? I hope we can get a little cloud and just cover the video, just to make sure there's no bottoms. Good boy. There's a theory that my cat actually was in a fight with a big dog. He's got these scars here on his back. He used to be a stray. Yeah, and if he's alive and he looks like this, obviously he won the fight and he killed a giant animal. That's what we assume. Yeah, because he's a bit of a badass.
But what if it just means he escaped?
No, he didn't escape. You haven't met this cat. He wouldn't run from a fight. No.
What?
He's my bouncer right now, as you can see. He's making sure that none of the Pokemon come out of the shelf and try and attack or anything like that. All right, so that's enough of a derailment of entirely there. Is back to Challenger's career. If either of these teams fall down, I think that there is a pretty high chance, that at least one of Griffin or Hanwha or Sandbox, I guess, as these are the three teams that we assume are going to be in those in the promotion tournament. I think that one of them loses to Team Dynamics, or one of them loses to someone. Right? I don't think that. I don't think it's going to be one of the cases where the LCK teams look too strong. In my opinion, anyway. That's just what I'm thinking. So, yeah. You got anything else to say to wrap up this particular episode, LS? Any final thoughts on where you think the state of the LCK is at the moment before I bid everyone goodbye?
I think LCK it's having some turbulence, and much like a plane.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens with it.
And we don't have Jin Air anymore, so we don't have the safety instructions.
Maybe that's
read
why
out
there
before
is
every
turbulence.
match.
It's because there's no plane.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, you're calling it turbulence. Obviously, it's rough air, as they say in the planes, because it feels like they don't want to say turbulence most of the time, because maybe it's a trigger word or something like that. We would know that if Jin Air was here. But we do not. Mm-hmm. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching and or listening to yet another episode. If you were watching the YouTube version, be sure to, go over and listen to the Apple Podcasts version or the Spotify version. Just jump around and consume the media in any way you possibly can. Still trying to get to new and noteworthy, I believe, on Apple Podcasts. So drop us a review, stuff like that. I've been doing it. I haven't been listening to the podcast again. I watch it on YouTube, but I don't listen to it again, so I probably should start doing that. But just hop over every time and just give it a little bit of a review. You can follow us both on Twitter as well as the POG State as a whole. POG State is at POG State on Twitter. I am at LS. I'm not LS. I'm Atlas. I'm at Atlas TV, and LS is at LSXYZ9. Oh my God. I think it's probably about time to wrap this up. Thankfully, no more 3 match day weeks.
We got one more.
Oh God, yeah. Never mind. Oh God. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, guys. The next episode that's going to be coming out after this will be after playoffs, which is super exciting. So as far as who's going to win the LCK, we're assuming that Gen G is going to be waiting for either DRX and T1 in the final, and then I think T1 probably wins. What do you reckon?
I would think T1 wins spring.
All right, I'm going to give it to T1 3-2. Yeah. It's going to be super close, super hype, mega sick. Cannot wait. And we will be back with the POG State episode to wrap it all up afterwards as well. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode in a couple of weeks. Say bye, Chang.
Great.
He doesn't want to say goodbye.